And one peculiar thing also is that as the water bounces and never touches the leaf, not only it doesn't make the leaf wet, but it also cleanses the leaf of all particles of dust. So although growing in it could be a very muddy environment, the lotus is always perfectly clean. So it doesn't get touched by the environment. It doesn't get dirt. It doesn't get any dirt or any muddy effect from the environment. So you got the idea. So the life that we're supposed to have in this material world, as per the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, of the scriptures, is like a lotus type of life. Cultivate a life that, although we are in this world, we can live a life that is not affected or influenced by the world. So some people use this very, it's not a great example because we don't use this thing, but people, we don't do these things, but people say you can catch the fish without getting wet. So we can be in this world, but not being touched or not being entangled in the world. We can live in this world and be transcendental to the world. So the essence of the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita is that. And Krishna, we know in the beginning of the Gita that Arjuna has this great conflict. He was very confused about what is the right thing to do. Arjuna was extremely elevated and educated personality. And not only extremely qualified, we have considered actually a Rajarshi, like a saintly administrator, saintly king, a saintly warrior. So he was extremely qualified. However, he was placed circumstantially in a situation that was very, very difficult. To fulfill the duty that he had for society, he had to fight against his family and kill possibly the person that was the most beloved person of the whole family for him, which was his grandfather. His grandfather was like his father, because they became orphans in a very early age, the Arjuna and his brothers, and they were raised by grandfather Bhishma Dev. So Arjuna had to fight against his family. So now he had this great conflict, because in one hand, how can you fight your family? You're supposed to worship your family. The scriptures tell us that. It's religious principles. And so what kind of happiness I can pursue by killing my family? What kind of duty I should pursue by killing my family? This was Arjuna's situation. It was very extreme. And then, not only that, according to religious principle, he was very concerned about sinful activities. How about killing all these heads of society, heads of families, kings? From basically, this was a world. And so the kings of different countries that were there present. So what will happen when you kill heads of society, heads of family, heads of communities? Then those communities will be unprotected, and then the religious principles won't be able to follow. So the sinful activity that is going to be rise about, from that act, he was very concerned. He was very concerned about also what would happen to the future society when there is no protection of family, when family nucleus, gets broken. He says, that family will be, that society will be populated by unwanted progeny, that is unpious, that progeny that will create chaos in society. So he had all these concerns. And he approached Krishna, and Krishna went on to teach him a science, to teach him a way of life by which he can perform his duty without being entangled in the reactions of that actions in this world cause. He tells Arjuna, now listen. He tells, I'm going to tell you, although I'm already explained, the first thing that Krishna tells Arjuna is that you're not the body. That's the most essential thing. But then he's going to go on to teach him a system, a way of life, that if he understands this way of life, he will become free from the bondage of what works does. So he tells Arjuna, listen carefully, Arjuna, and of course, that's us too. Each one of us, listen carefully. Because Krishna now is going to explain the system. He tells him that even actually, it's such a powerful system that even a little advancement on this system, if you learn this process, you will become free from the greatest danger, which is losing your human birth. And he tells Arjuna that to succeed in this process, you have to focus. You have to have this single-pointed intelligence. If you actually resolute in achieving this goal of this great process that I'm just going to teach you, you need to focus. You have to have this intelligence that is single-pointed. Vyavashayatmika buddhi. He said that those who are not resolute, their mind, their intelligence is many-branched. So when we have many distractions in our life, then we cannot focus on this system. Basically, we have to learn to focus, to have this single-pointed intelligence, to be able to succeed. Remember, what Krishna is offering is he starts with a process that if we learn it, we can live in this world free from the reactions. Free from the reactions. Then he tells Arjuna that what is the elements that will completely knock down or don't allow that focused intelligence, single-pointed intelligence to happen. And he says this, Bhoga Aishwarya Prashaktanam. Bhoga Aishwarya Prashaktanam means that when one is too attached to sense enjoyment, to the pursuance of sense enjoyment and opulence in this world, then that Vyavashayatmika buddhi cannot happen. So he tells Arjuna that you have to readjust, or you have your goal of life should not be sense gratification or material opulence. There have to be some other goal of life to achieve. If you have those goals, then the Vyavashayatmika buddhi cannot happen. Then Arjuna, Krishna gave Arjuna this very famous verse. Many people in India knows this verse. Karma dyeva dikaraste ma paleshu kadachanan ma karma phala heturbur mate shangustu karmani. How many of you know this verse? Many people. It's common. And even if you don't know, you still can paraphrase it. it gives us an essence of how can we work. Then now Krishna introduced the principles of this process that he tells Arjuna that you must learn. He said that the only right that you have, the only duty, the adhikari that you have is to perform your duty. We have to be extremely committed to our duty. Duty is greater than any of us. Duty is greater to any of our selfish pursuits. So duty is greater than sense gratification or individual goals, basically, say it like this. Duty is greater than our individual goals. And that is the main thing that we have to be extremely committed. So you have the right to perform your prescribed duty. But then he says that you're not entitled to the fruits of your work. And you're not the doer. Whatever you're doing, you're not the doer. So now, tell me about it. I mean, you can picture Arjuna, because just by seeing, reading any of us this, and you go like, okay, how exactly do you do this? How do you work with no concern for the fruits or the result of your work? In general, if we're going to do something, we want that something, manifests into some result. You just don't do something like for, okay, why are you doing this? I don't know, and I don't care. So that sounds like a crazy person. Okay, let me 911. We have one of those, roaming around here in this area, so please come and get him. How you have to have a motivation, you have to have a goal. And then, how do you do something but you're not the doer? What does that exactly mean? And then Krishna says, just in case you're too confused, you're not supposed to give up your duty. So, you're supposed to do your duty, you're not supposed to give it up. It's compulsory. But you have to have these two things in place. This understanding. The fruits are not for our individual personal enjoyment. It's not for us to claim. And we're not the doers. Okay. How exactly this? Arjuna is confused now. He's trying to, he's going to ask several questions. Actually, this is such a confusing thing that it took 6 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita for Arjuna to understand it. So, meaning, that's what Krishna say, listen carefully. We have to understand where is this principle, how you can actually act in such a way with this type of principles. So, Krishna says that, so don't be concerned for the fruits. They're not for you. Actually, act in such a way that you have no attachment for failure or success, which is also, do you want to work and you don't mind if you fail? Is that what we want to teach our children, Yeah, just go to school. If you fail, whatever, If you succeed, whatever. So, no, we want, people to succeed. But Krishna says another, how do you do this? How do you act with no attachment to success or failure? But he says that you have to learn this art of all work. He calls it like that. Krishna says that. This is something that he mentioned. The art of work. The art of work is you have to be equipoise, meaning that we have to be in this position in which all these dualities of the world doesn't touch us. We remain equipoise. Still, how do you do that? He calls this process yoga. Yoga is equanimity, meaning yoga is a position of transcendence. Transcendence is a position that you're over the influence of the world. So we have to work, we have to act in this platform of yoga. Arjuna didn't understand, so later he asked Krishna. Because after this, Krishna basically is telling Arjuna, okay, now you got it, get your bow and get ready to work. And then Arjuna say, well, you're telling me that yoga is, that you have to be above this whole thing. But now you're telling me to fight. So I'm very confused. I don't understand this whole thing of, you're acting, but you're not the doer. You don't care about if you get killed or you win like that. All this stuff is very confusing. So please, explain. And then Krishna introduces something that give us a much more deeper understanding of what is the purpose of our work. Remember, the purpose of our work is that is not for us to enjoy the results. The purpose of our work is to satisfy Vishnu. So he says this famous verse too. He introduces the word yajna. Yajna means sacrifice. So work is done as a sacrifice. Sacrifice for the pleasure of Vishnu. Work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu have to be performed. Otherwise, work causes bondage in this material world. Therefore, son Kunti, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction. And in that way, you will always remain free from bondage. So now we got more information. Arjuna got more information. That your work have to be a sacrifice, a yajna. During that time, and in India in general, we are familiar with yajnas. So you know that yajnas are performed to also achieve certain results. So if you want to be wealthy, you do a Lakshmi yajna. If you want, when your kids are going to do the final exams of something, you call a priest and then have a Saraswati yajna. And if you want health, you worship Suryadev. And so on. So there's certain result, but Krishna says to Arjuna, no. Yajna means the Yagyapati. The enjoyer of all yajnas is Vishnu. So yajna must be performed for the pleasure of Vishnu. And when we learn this process of performing our work as a sacrifice, as a yajna for Vishnu, then we're free from bondage. So remember, that was the original statement of Krishna. Now listen, I'm going to teach you a system by which you can actually perform your work and be free from the results. So what is this process of yajna? In the next verse of this, Krishna gives the formula. He explained to Arjuna, this is the system that he designed for us human beings to be happy, prosperous, and to elevate our consciousness at the same time. It's a perfect system. It's a perfect system that is being handed by Krishna from the beginning of creation. And he creates a support structure for that system. That support structure is a relationship between man and demigods. The demigods are the administrators of this world. So in that perfect system, you actually perform this sacrifice of yajna. You learn the process of yajna. When the application of Yagya is there in the structure that Krishna has provided in this universe, then everything that you desire to be happy and prosperous in this life will be provided. And at the end of your life, your consciousness will be purified and transcendental, because in this system there is no reaction. There's no reaction, there's no karma. Krishna explained to Arjuna later that there are three types of result for your actions. There is karma, there is akarma, and there is vikarma. Karma refers to actions that are performed following the scriptures, the direction of the scriptures, the Shastra. So when you act religiously, according to religious principles, according to the codes of religion for humankind, then you receive a pious reaction. Piety means that you elevate your consciousness. You elevate not only your consciousness, but you also elevate your material situation. There's still a reaction for that. That's my telephone. Embarrassing. Then there is vikarma. Vikarma is when you act disregarding the codes of religion. So when we do like that, there is a sinful reaction. And then there is akarma, which is what Krishna is trying to teach Arjuna, which means you act, but there is no reaction. In the 8th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna asked Krishna, what is karma? And we in general, we know karma, the law of action and reaction, what goes around, comes around, that type of thing. But Krishna gives the definition of karma. Karma are the activities or the actions that give the living entity a material body. So, karma bounds you in this world. Either it is pious karma or it is sinful reactions. You have to receive a material body. Krishna doesn't encourage Arjuna to follow this karma kanda session. Krishna encourages Arjuna to follow this nishkam karma yoga, this process of karma yoga. What he explains, that will be no reaction. So Krishna tells Arjuna, there is a perfect system that actually you are in the world and you get everything you require to live in this world. You have to do the things that you have to do in this world. You perform your duties. But when you learn this system of Yagya, then you can act, but there is no reaction. So he tells Arjuna further in chapter 3. He says, therefore, O Arjuna, surrender all your works unto me, God. With full knowledge of me, without desires for profit, with no claim to proprietorship, and free from lethargy. Fight in that way. Those persons who execute their duties according to my injunctions and who follow this teaching faithfully without envy become free from the bondage of fruitive actions. But those who out of envy disregard these teachings and do not follow them regularly are considered bereft of all knowledge, befooled and ruined in their endeavors for perfection. So, perfect system. It's a perfect system that is there for us to understand and learn. It's a system that is given by the Creator Himself, that is complete and perfect. The element that is there, that is guaranteed, is that we can be happy. we can actually achieve sustainable happiness. Without that, outside that system, Krishna has already given the stamp for this world. Dukhalayam ashashvatam. It's a place of misery. So regardless, however we square it, progressive or no progressive, however we turn it around, we always gonna face unhappiness in this world. Because it's the nature of the world. Because I always say, we are an eternal being. Krishna, in the first teachings of Krishna to Arjuna, is that you are an eternal spirit soul. So we are an eternal being in a temporary world. We are an eternal entity in a temporary world, which means that this environment is incompatible for us. So how can you be happy in an incompatible environment? We know the analogy or the imagery of the fish out of water. If you take a fish out of water, it doesn't matter what you do for the fish. You can give it, this nice Vyasasan with, new cushion, thing, a very nice, pillow. You can give it a nice flat screen TV, and you can put, the latest Disney movie, Finding Nemo or something like that. And you can give a nice bowl of popcorn with melted butter, ready. But this poor creature, it doesn't matter how many nice things you do for him. It can enjoy. Why? Because it's not his natural environment. We don't relate to temporary happiness because we're eternal. Who wants to have, let me see hands here, who wants a happiness that have a time shelf? You can be very happy today, tomorrow, I don't know about that, most likely finish. Who wants signs for that? No one. We want happiness that is sustainable. We don't relate to other type of happiness. We don't relate to death. Why we don't relate to death? Because we are eternal. We don't die. We don't relate to temporary things. So Krishna tells Arjuna that you need transcendental knowledge. You have to be armed with this. In order to be able to follow this perfect system that guarantees us happiness, we have to possess this peace that is known as Divya Gyan, transcendental knowledge. So naturally, that was the next chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4. Chapter 4 is called Divya Gyan. Krishna tells Arjuna that actually this is a science that I have that is being from the beginning of creation, from time immemorial. This sign I gave to the sun god Vivaswan. Actually, even the father of the sun god had this science. So it's been a science that is from the very beginning of creation. Like Krishna says, in the beginning of creation, he established the system. He says it's a proven system because in previous ages, kings like Janaka Maharaj, he obtained perfection by doing this. And this is a sign that has been handed down through to all the saintly kings throughout the history of the universe. So it's handed down in that way, in a disciplic succession. So what is this transcendental knowledge? Srila Prabhupada explained what transcendental knowledge is. 3 things. Who's God, who we are, and what is our relationship with God. So the first thing we need to understand to be able to embrace this perfect system that guarantees happiness, that guarantees that we will be transcendental to all the permutations and all the conflicts and all the things that happens in the world. We can live above that in a progressive, prosperous way. So we need to understand these three things: who's God, who we are, and what is our relationship. So the first thing that Krishna says in the 4th chapter is that here's the purpose why I come to the world. I come to teach. I come to establish these principles. But here's the piece that if you fully understand Krishna as he is in truth, Tattvataha means truth. If we're able to understand God in truth, in Tattva, if we understand that his activities and his appearance in this world, they're not material, they're divine, they're transcendental. If we understand in full, in truth, Krishna's position, then tyakta deham punarjaman neti man eti sorjuna. No more birth in this world. So, we have to understand God. We have to understand him. We have to understand what is his position. And that is the most important element of transcendental knowledge. How do you receive transcendental knowledge? Krishna explained, you must approach a spiritual master. And what is the spiritual master going to teach you? He is going to teach you that you are part and parcel of Krishna. You belong to Krishna. So this is a very important part, because in this chapter we understand, well, there is a supreme personality of Godhead, and there is me who belong to Krishna, who is part and parcel of Krishna. And that established the essence of the living entity. Krishna said later in chapter 15, Mama Ibansa Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatanam, that we eternally his part and parcel. And he uses this word Mama Ibansa. Ibansa. Bansa means atomic. Very, very tiny. So, as a part and parcel, Srila Prabhupada explained, there is an eternal relationship. The part is connected. It can be separated from the whole. Like the sun and the sun rays. The sun rays are eternally connected to the sun. But the sun rays, relationship with the sun is of dependence. The existence of the sun rays depends on the sun. So the energy is dependent on the energetic. And the relationship between those, between the part and the whole, is that the part always serves the whole. So, what do we learn from the spiritual master, those tattvadarshis, those who have seen the truth? What we learn? We learn who's God and what is my relationship with him. What is the essence of ourself? When we understand the essence of ourself, of our existence, then we're armed, we have the tools to be able to apply it and learn this process of yajna. This process, this eternal process, perfect process for human beings. In the beginning of Kali Yuga, the great sages of the world, they were able to foresee the future. They saw by the influence of Kali Yuga, religious principles will be basically nullified. And the people of Kali Yuga will be victimized by sinful life. They could see that the age of quarrel, this age of Kali, will influence people to be always disturbed, quarrelsome, fight among each other. Very unfortunate. So manda sumanda matayo manda bagyo padrita. So many things negative, full of conflict, and that's what we're seeing nowadays. It's not getting better either. There's so much conflict among people. Not only people, even in the families, are conflict. What to speak, communities. There's clashes among communities here. So there's the African Americans are very unhappy about the treatment, and then there is those who following Trump, they unhappy about this, and then they clash, and there is all this conflict, and then there is people in the Muslim world that are very unhappy. Anyway, it's a mess of a world. There's so much conflict. The sages were able to see that, and they decided they would do this great sacrifice to counteract, to be able to counteract the influence of the age, the dark age of Kali. And they chose the greatest among all the saintly persons. His name was Sutta Goswami. And they asked Sutta Goswami very pertinent questions on their purpose. They say to Sutta Goswami, there are many varieties of scriptures, and in all of them there are many prescribed duties. Like Arjuna was very confused about, well, this is religious, this is religious, this is religious, this is religious. So I could go anywhere, so which one is right? So there are many prescriptions in the many different scriptures, many different ways. Right now, people of this religion say, no, mine is right, no, yours is right, no, this one is that, you go to hell, we go into heaven, and this type of thing. So many different scriptures are there with so many different prescriptions. Then they ask, therefore, O sage, please select the essence of all these scriptures and explain it for the good of all living beings, that by such instructions their heart may be fully satisfied. The sages could see this age is very difficult. There is no structure that supports pious life. The social structure of the Vedic times, the Varnashram Dharma, has been dismantled by the age of Kali. So there is no social structure that supports religious life. It's all mixed and very confusing. So then the sages ask, just give us the essence. All the teachings, just take the essence and give it to us. So this can be communicated to people in Kali Yuga, so their hearts may be happy. And then Srila Sutta Goswami gives this very famous verse in which the essence of the living entity is given. Sabai punsam parodharma. Paradharma means this system, this perfect system that Krishna has given. Remember, there are many dharmas there. There's social dharma, there's family dharma, there's all kinds of dharma. But Krishna is telling Arjuna, Sutta Goswami is telling to the sages that here is the supreme dharma. This supreme dharma is the same one that Krishna tells Arjuna that this is like an ocean. With an oceanic body of water, you can take care of all your little ponds water problems. When you have this param dharma, then you don't have to worry about anything. And that's exactly the last instruction that Krishna gives Arjuna. Sarva dharmam parityaja. You abandon all these different dharmas that are there and take to this param dharma. What is the param dharma that Krishna describes in the Bhagavad Gita? Mam ekam sharanam braja. When when we're in that param, that supreme dharma, then masuchaha. We don't have to worry. We don't have to worry about sinful reactions. We don't have to worry about this. We're situated in this transcendental position. The perfect system. The perfect system Now, we have to understand our essence. So what is our essence? What is that essence that Sutta Goswami tells the sages? Is yato bhaktir adokshaye. Is devotion. Devotional service. Loving devotional service to the personality of Godhead. That is what defines us. That's who we are. That's the essence of the self. And when we're situated in that essence, then yayatma suprasidati. Then suprasidati, full happiness and satisfaction can be achieved. So we're already almost 6:30, so we've finished with this. Sutta Goswami goes further. He tells us the practical application of how a person who is in this Param-dharma system can actually, practically live in this world and live in this perfect system, that the same system that Krishna tells Arjuna, now listen, try to learn this system. The same system that Krishna says to Arjuna that in the beginning of creation was established, this Jagya, this principle of Jagya for the satisfaction of Vishnu. So what do we need? What any one of us need to be able to live on this perfect system? The only thing that we have to do, and it's a one thing, but obviously we have to learn, we have to change. We have to change a paradigm of life. We have to have this goal. The goal of our lives should be something else. We have to reset it. And we have to start to live, with that goal. So the goal of life is not sense gratification. Remember, Bhoga Ishwarya Prasaktanam is implied in that verse. It's not sense gratification. So we won't live, we won't do whatever we do is not to actually satisfy this body. But the goal of life is to have a healthy life that allows to pursue the actual goal, which is self-realization. Jivasya tattva jigyasha, to understand the absolute truth. The goal of life is to understand this transcendental knowledge that I am not this body, I'm an eternal spirit soul, eternal part and parcel of Krishna, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and whom I am connected eternally in loving service. And that is the same principle that the Sri Upanishad give, which is called the Ishavasya principle. That Krishna is the supreme proprietor. And he gave us, to each one of us, not only to each one of us, to actually all living entities, he have a quota. He have already a pre-arranged quota for each one of us. And we have simply to accept that quota very gratefully and happily and dedicate our life to understand and to pursue self-realization. And in that way, we can be like a lotus in this life. We can be above the water, and if the water is splashed to us, then it slide down. It doesn't touch us. And not only that, it cleanses ourselves. So, and as you see, the lotus that are growing, some of them are fully bloomed, some of them are in a bud. So many of us are in bud. We can, if we apply this system, if we apply what Srila Prabhupada has given us, if we embrace it, even if we are not, our devotion hasn't fully opened, the white lotus of our devotion is still in a bud form, you can see that it's still above the water. It's not touched. It's not touched. You can see that's how the lotus effect is. So we can do it. We can do it even in our situation that we are not in the transcendental consciousness. If we are connected to someone who is transcendental. if we are guided by someone who is transcendental. And that's the message of today. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Do we have time for any questions? I mean, 6:30 now. Just one question, so the most eager person can ask one question, and then we take Krishna Prasad. And if there's no questions, then we can take Prasad. Anything? Okay. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Subal Prabhu. Please give a big hand for Subal Prabhu. We are so happy to have you. Miss you so much. We want him back, right? Always. Please come back as much as you can. We wait for your association so eagerly. The usual, I have been announcing ISKCON connection for the past 3-4 weeks near the Charanamrit table. You can see I have put up a small poster over there. It's called ISKCON Connection. This is an effort on the part of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness to connect all the devotees of all categories. So you will get some newsletter by email, and other privileges are there. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to pay anything, but you will get the information. So if you can please contact the person sitting at the reception and sign up, that will be great. Today's Sunday feast, I cannot see anything. Going blind, I think. Today's Sunday feast is sponsored by 4 families. First one is Supreet Jain and family, celebrating Vivian Jain's 2nd birthday. Are they here? Can you please come and receive some prasadam from here? It is his birthday. Let him become a great devotee of Krishna. Hari Bol. Happy birthday. Here. Okay, take it, both the hands. Both the hands. Thank you so much. Hari Bol. Today, we are also sponsoring, myself and my son, sponsoring Nirandara Prabhu's 70th birthday. So we would like to really thank Nirandara Prabhu for his years of selfless service for ISKCON, so many years of service in so many different ways, and we are extremely grateful for all the time and effort he has put into various services in ISKCON. Give him a big hand. And there will be a cake downstairs. He is supposed to cut that. And we have Sarina Kapoor. She is one of our very dear young devotees who has moved to Florida. Is she still there in Florida? From there she is sponsoring Seeking Krishna's Blessings. Her mother Sangeeta Kapoor is here. Please, may I have? Thank you so very much. Sarina is very, very dear to us. We wish her all the best. And the last one is Srikant Prabhu is celebrating his wife Anita and son Swarat's birthday. Thank you so very much, Srikant Prabhu. Where is it? Where are they? Are they here?
Yes, she is coming.
Thank you so very, very, very much. Hari Bol. Anyway, in our temple, what do? Any celebration, we just chant the holy names of Krishna, and we seek the blessings of Sri Sri Radha Shyamasundar and Sri Sri Radha Madhav for the spiritual well-being of all these families. So please repeat after me. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And I think that the blessings you can receive from the altar, and after that you can go downstairs and take the prasadam. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.